Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ktor Server Fundamentals playlist. In the last video, we covered request validation in Ktor. In this video, we will be covering rate limiting in Ktor. So let's start by understanding what rate limiting is and why it's important. Rate limiting helps control the number of requests a client can make within a specific time frame, preventing abuse and ensuring fair resource usage. Then we will start by installing and configuring the rate limit plugin. Next, we will explore how can we define limit at global level. Global rate limits ensure that all requests to our server follows a predefined limit regardless of the route. Sometimes different route may require different limits. For example, an authentication route might have a strict limit compared to a public API. We will see how to apply rate limiting to specific routes in Ktor. In some cases, we may need dynamic rate limits based on user roles, API keys, or other request parameters. We will implement a setup where rate limits change dynamically based on a key extracted from the request. So now let's begin by adding dependency for rate limit plugin. For that, we can head over to version catalog file. You can find this file within this Gradle package. Over here, we can simply duplicate this line and say rate limit. Similarly, over here as well, we can simply say rate limit. And now let's move to build.gradle file. Over here, we can simply duplicate this line and we can simply say rate dot limit. Now, simply sync the project. Now, to install this plugin, we can move to this plugins package. Over here, let's create a new Kotlin file and name it rate limit. It will be file, and we can simply create an extension function for the configuration. We can say application dot configure rate limit. Within this, we can simply call our install function. Within this, we can pass rate limit, and this function can be invoked from within this application module function, but make sure that you call this function before this routing configure routing block. So now after that, let's move to routing. Let's create a new route. Let's say post request and give it a path hello. Within this, we will simply respond with a hello world text. So we can say respond text and hello world. So now let's add limit to this request. So one way we can do this is we can move to this rate limit file, and within this install we can add limit at global level. So what we can do within this global, we can simply use this rate limiter. Within this we can pass both limit as well as refill period. So for limit, let's suppose we want to allow 5 requests every minute. So we will only allow limit of 5 within every 60 seconds. We can import this. So what this will do is, for every 60 seconds we will only be allowed to make 5 API calls. So now let's try this out. If we enter hello path and make a post request, you can see currently it is successful. You can make few more times, and after making 5 requests it said too many requests. And in headers as well, you can notice that this retry after. So this is refill period that we have added. So currently it will wait for 53 more seconds, then allow the to make request again. So if we send again, it is 32 now. So until 60 seconds we have our refill period. So until that period, it will hold the request. So we can make only 5 requests per minute. Now to show some message within this for this status code too many requests, like we can show some text like too many requests, wait for certain seconds. For that we can move to status pages file, and over here we can simply say status http status code dot too many request. Within here we get access to call as well as status code. So now what we can do is we can simply access the retry after header. So for that we can say retry after equals call dot response. Since it is attached to headers in response, so response header, so we can do something like this and retry after. Since if you take a look over here, it the retry after key within the response header has the value of retry after seconds. So now we have accessed the retry after. Now we can simply respond text. We can say respond text, and text will be 429 too many requests, wait for retry after. Since it is in seconds, so we can say seconds, and status will be status. So now if we rerun the application, if we make request again, like let's say we exceed the limit. Now if limit is exceeded, we get body. Within this body as well we have the retry after second. So if we make request again, it is being updated based on the response header, response retry after header. So now let's suppose within this route we want to also respond with the limits remaining, the remaining amount of requests that we can make. So for that we can access the limit by using something like, let's say, request left, and this will be equal to call dot response dot headers, and we can access the x rate limit remaining. So using this header we get access to the number of requests that are left within the time frame that we have defined. So we can simply respond with request left, requests left. So this many requests are left. So let's try this out. It's a now 4 requests are left since we already made one. So now if we run, it will say at last 0 requests left. So now if we make request, it will respond with too many request status. Now let's create one more post request. Let's say it hello one, and we'll respond same thing. Let's run the application. Now let's make request again. It's a 4 request. Let's make one more request. It's a 3. Now let's make request to hello one. It will say 2 instead of 5. So as you notice, this global level rate limit will apply to all the routes. So every routes a minute, only 5 request is allowed. So if it exceeds, then we won't be able to make any further request. So let's suppose we want to define different limit for all the routes. So for that, what we can do is we can simply register and we can give the name to this limit, since we will be accessing this limit by using its explicit name. So what we can say is we can simply say rate limit. Let's name it as public, and within this let's have a rate limit. Let's say limit rate limiter with value limit of value 10 within the refill period of 60 seconds. So now what we can do is we can first we'll need to comment this global, since otherwise it will override all the other stuffs. So we can comment this out, and we can use this new limit for our route. Let's suppose we will create one more route. Let's create one more route. Let's say post request, and let's give it a path public. Within the body of this route we will be having same body, so let's copy one of from this. So here too we can get access to request left using this header in response, and we are simply responding with the limits left. So now one more thing what we can do is we can apply this limit to this route. So for that what we can say rate limit, and we can pass the rate limit name. So whatever name we have given over here, we can simply add this over here as well. So now we can move this post request within the body of this limit, and we are done. So now this limit will be applied to all the requests within this rate limit. Quickly try this out. We have named it public, so let's say public over here. Now you can see, since we have limit of 10, so it's a 9, and we can make more request, and other will not impact the limit of this route. So let's say we have other route too as well. So let's say we call hello one. We can remember this 7 requests left for the public route. So if we make a request to hello one, it will say null since we don't have any limit for this route now. So now if we go back to our this route, it will say now 6. Since it was 7, now it will be 6 instead of 5. Since this 10 limit will be applied to this route only. So now as you can notice, this limit is static. So what if we want to have some dynamic behavior? So let's suppose based on any request parameters, we want to change the limit. So for that, let's create one more post request, and let's say it has a path protected, and within here we will be having same body. Now let's suppose we want to dynamically add limit for this one. So for that we can move to rate limit file, and over here we can register new limit. So let's give it a name protected. Now within this what we can say is we can simply have same rate limiter, and we can pass limit, let's say limit of 10, and same refill period of 60 seconds. So we are having a rate limit of 10 within every 60 seconds. So now for dynamically handling the limit, we can make use of the parameters in request. So first we need to set the key. So for that we can say request key, and within this request key we'll need to provide the key that we will be referring for the dynamic behavior. So let's suppose for now we are getting key as a query parameter. So for that we can receive the query parameters as, let's suppose we get access to application call over here, and we can say call dot request dot query parameters, and we can simply refer to, let's suppose, let's give it our, let's say we are receiving query parameters as type. So now we can make use of this key. So what we can say is we can simply add request wait. So here too we get access to the application call as well as the key that we had set over here. So the request key, whatever key we set over here, will get access to that key. Now using this key we can have different handling. So let's suppose when key is admin. So let's suppose when request type is admin, then we want to give weight of 2, else we'll give weight of 1. So what this will do is, for type equals admin, we can make only 5 requests, since for every one request the weight is 2. So if we divide 10 by 2, then we will be getting 5. So for admin we will be only able to make 5 requests within the 60 seconds time frame, else it will we will be able to make 10 requests within 60 seconds. So now let's try this out. So we can move to the routing and we can add this rate. Now let's first make request protected. Protected. Now if we make request without any query parameters, it will work as it is, like we will be getting 10 requests. We will be allowed to make 10 requests. But now let's quickly rerun the application again. And in case if we add query type equals admin, now we will be allowed to make only 5 requests. So let's try to send them. And as you can see, from 10 we got directly down to 8. So for each request our weight will be 2. Since we have added rate limit of 2, so our limit of 10 will be decreased to 8. So now if we again make the request, it will be 6, since it will deduct 2 requests from the remaining request. So that's it for this video. In the next video we will be exploring sending responses in Ktor. So until then, thanks for watching and happy coding.